What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another bit of training. Sorry I couldn't be there again. Couple of things. One, just I have to say it. Cedric, don't interrupt me. I know you're going to. For those of you who are watching who might not be as familiar, this is a training video that I'm working on for my team here. Some great people, but covering a different topic today that I wanted to really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of how you're going to do this. So anyway, got my mug here. Let's get started. So again, sorry I couldn't be there today. The topic I want to cover today is rapport, okay? And we have talked about this a few times beforehand about what is rapport, how to build rapport, kind of the brief overview, more like the 101. Today I want to get a little heavier into it, okay? So as you all know, I hope your phones are off in the middle. If not, doing push-ups. Also, if you're late, Brian, make him do push-ups. Just the way it is, okay? So rapport. Before I get started on this, I want to bring up a fact, and I want everyone to burn this into their brain, okay? Because it is super important. What you do for a living, right? The wholesale real estate business, purchasing a home from another person. I want you to think about this. Typically speaking, this is the largest financial transaction of the average person's life, okay? I want you to think about that for a second. What you're doing, the way you're interacting with these people, is typically the largest financial transaction they will ever do, okay? So keep that in your brain when we start talking here in just a second. The reason I'm diving more into rapport is that, I don't know about you, but if it were me, if I didn't trust somebody, there is no way in hell I'm going to do the largest financial transaction of my life with them, right? It's never going to happen. Especially if they know more than me, right? You're coming at this, you're a professional, you do this all day long. A lot of the people that you're dealing with don't do this all day long, right? That's why they're selling to us, okay? So what I want to go over today are some specific things, some tips, some tricks, all that kind of stuff on how to do better. Be right back. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get into it. What is rapport? Rapport is building a relationship with another human being, okay? In this case, you're working with a seller or a potential seller of a distressed property. Tim, you had mentioned this the last time we spoke, and that you're very persistent in, by the end of it, they're crazy not to do business with you, okay? And I think that's beautiful. I think it's awesome, and I want to expound on that just a little bit, okay? What you're doing and what everyone else should be doing is really thinking about how you can give to the seller to create the feeling of reciprocity, okay? And reciprocity, we touched on this a little bit last time, but reciprocity is the mutual feeling that happens between people when gifts or services are exchanged, okay? So if I don't know you and I give you a gift, psychologically, way back in your lizard brain, it was formed, when we were roaming around in tribes and whacking mammoths on the head with a rock. Doing something for someone else created a bond, and also it created the underlying expectation that they now owe you something in return, okay? It's a theory of reciprocity. So we're really going to build on that today and really kind of drive that home with the lesson that we have, which is building rapport, okay? Because again, we're going back to this first one. Why do we do this and how do we do this? Let's cover the why first. That's very important. Why we do this is because we need the seller's trust in order to get a deal done. Okay? We have to have that. They're going to have to trust you enough to sign paperwork, let you into their home, let strangers into their home. If you're going to wholesale a deal, you need to be the one that they trust implicitly during the course of this deal. Okay? So let's talk about how we get that done. All right? So let's break this down on the initial call. Sorry about my handwriting. I know it's not great, okay? So Rapport 202, really diving into this stuff. On the initial call, okay, I like to do a couple of things. I like to establish a first name basis very quickly, right? I like a friendly, casual, but professional manner on the phone. Hey John, this is Darwin. Great talking to you. Listen, I know you're a busy guy. It won't take too much of your time, but can I give you a quick overview of why I'm calling, right? That is kind of going to set the tone for the conversation and really make it seem like you do this all the time, okay? So initial phone call, nice casual tone, but I do think it is important to start working in on a first name basis, especially out here in the West, right? Out here in the Southwest, we're a little bit more casual. Back where I grew up, it's yes ma'am, no ma'am, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so. It's much more kind of formal, for lack of a better word. But out here, I like to go ahead and establish that friendly rapport. We have lots of people from out west, also the Midwest, not as formal a culture, okay? So initial call, we're gonna go first name. And I know this probably seems granular right now, and you know, duh, right? Of course I have to call this person by their first name. But I want you to get used to doing this because over time, this pattern is going to allow you to quickly establish bonds with more people, okay? And that's what this game is all about. So we're going to establish the first name basis, okay? The next thing I really want you to, what we have to do on this one is we have to turn on our listening ears. This goes back to Sandler. So we're going to actively listen, right? You're going to actively listen. You're going to start picking up on these nuggets of things, right? Maybe they're into something that you're into. Maybe they like to take photographs of birds, and so do you. Maybe the both of you like Chinese food. Maybe the both of you love the color blue. I don't know. But anything you can do to establish commonalities once you've heard some things is going to be very, very useful, okay? So you're going to active listen, and then you're going to establish commonalities. Right? I'm not going to write all that out because everyone knows what that is. So you're going to establish commonalities, okay? Oh, cool. You went to high school over on the west side. Me too. It was great. Yeah, did you have Mrs. So-and-so? Oh, she gave me an F on my algebra. Well, whatever it happens to be, okay? But you're going to use these things to establish commonalities. And the manner in which we do that typically is going to be two things. One, it's going to be the first person. So I did this, you did this, we're alike, therefore you should like me and trust me, okay? The other one is going to be third party stories. So third and first, right? So we have third party stories and we have first party stories. Third party stories are going to be about somebody else, but they are going to cover a commonality that you have with the other person, okay? So a third-party story, a great example might be if you get a seller on the phone who's sophisticated, who's done a lot of deals, who's done real estate for a while. You could use a third-party story about, say, one of the company owners or another investor that you know. You're welcome to use me as an example, or anyone else that you might know of to establish at least some type of commonality between you and the seller, okay? So we're going to use third-party stories to establish rapport. And then we're also going to use first-party stories, right? You're going to ask them questions. You're going to turn on your ears and shut your mouth. You're going to try to establish these commonalities. I love to take notes while I do it, right? Like if they say the word dog, write it down. Oh, they have a dog. I have a dog. I've had dogs in the past. Maybe they just lost a dog. Maybe they had to put their dog down. That's happened to me. We can tell stories about our dogs, right? But anything you can use, these little nuggets that you can pick up on to establish commonality is what's going to cement this relationship, okay? Because that's really what you're doing. You're cementing a relationship on the phone that is going to have them trust you, like you, and want to work with you, okay? That's rapport, simple as it gets. Okay, so moving on, once we've established this kind of stuff, so we've got third-party stories, we have first-party stories, and we're chit-chatting, right? So as all this is going on in the background, you have all this, I want you to be funneling these thoughts over here, excuse my arrow, it's not great, into our sales process. Okay? Scratch that out for right now. So we're going to funnel all this into our sales process, okay? Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do with this rapport is get them to do a deal. No deal, no money. No money, everybody goes home broke. It sucks, okay? So again, what we're trying to do with this rapport is get them comfortable talking to you about the property, okay? Any type of pressure is typically going to elicit one of two responses. The prospect's either going to fight you or they're going to run away. Meaning, oh, you know, I'm not interested in selling, whack. Or they're going to fight you and say, that's a bullshit price, I don't want to deal with it, you're lowballing me, I don't like you, you probably make change at the collection plate, right? But any type of pressure that you're going to apply is going to create a problem. So my response to this is that I don't like to apply pressure. I like to make friends with people. I like to let them know that we have a lot of things in common. I like to share stories, both third and first party. And then the big one is turn on your listening ears, right? The magical superpower with rapport, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The ability to establish rapport is going to be directly predicated on your ability to listen to someone, lock away a couple of nuggets, and then casually drop them back into the conversation at a future point. Okay? So let me say that again. You're going to gather information here. At some point down here in one of these stories, you're going to drop these little nuggets. Okay? What that's going to show people is that you care. You're listening to what they have to say versus just waiting for your turn to talk. Okay? So the rapport establishment is much more about being able to listen and being able to relate to people than it is about knowing everything. Okay? If you come across like you know everything and you're uber professional and very formal and they don't feel comfortable with you, that's not going to establish rapport, right? They're going to feel that as pressure and they're going to want to fight or they're going to want to run away. Okay? And that's not what we want. What we want them to do is trust us, because this, remember, this is a sales process. This isn't a sale. Calling up somebody and buying their house in 5 minutes does not happen. I don't care what they say on Instagram. It's not real, okay? This is a process that we have. Everything I've heard you guys tell me and everything that I've seen in the field is that the phone calls that get the deals done are typically pretty long, okay? So we want to have a nice, clean system for building this rapport and moving through these phone calls when we have a lead that is ready, willing, and able to get a deal done, okay? So this is a system by which I want you guys to do this. So let's run through a quick example. Where's my, here we go. So I'm going to erase all this. The other cool part about building rapport is that if you do a good enough job on this, if the person likes and trusts you, you can screw up a few times and you're not going to lose the deal. Okay? Let me say that one more time. If they like you enough and they trust you enough, you can make some mistakes and still get the deal done, right? So think of rapport building as almost an insurance policy, right? A lot of things that come up with us, we have people who are, they get nervous in the post-sale. They, you know, Brian, you had mentioned this to me. They don't want to sign anything, right? Nobody wants to sign anything because they're scared. They think they're leaving money on the table. They do whatever. This solves a lot of the quote-unquote timing bubble issues that we have, right? Oh, I can't sell it right now. It's not the right time, blah, 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 blah. Using this system for building rapport on all different levels will give you enough cushion in your prospect where you can still get the deal done, okay? It's going to allow you to be able to renegotiate. It's going to allow you to be able to make some screw-ups. It's going to allow for title to not return someone's phone call and then they call you up yelling, right? If that hasn't happened to you yet, give it time, it will. But the establishment of rapport, this is the bedrock for every deal that we do. This is the foundation that you're laying in order to get these deals done, okay? So let's run through a couple quick examples. So we'll use one, this happened to me not too long ago. So I'm on the phone with a seller, okay? This was in a multifamily deal and it wasn't going well, okay? We were pretty far off on pricing. We were pretty far off on everything else. I was able to pick up a couple of different nuggets in the conversation that led me to understand some problems that the seller was having, okay? So one of which, and this is very common, but having problem tenants, okay? So I know a few things. Got them on a first name basis, turned on my active listening ears, and the problem, in which case we're actually going to call this the pain because we all know pain, right? Pain equals a tenant. Okay? So rather than just launch into third and first party stories and then they and I get in this inevitable game of, oh, were your tenants worse than my tenants or were my tenants worse than your tenants, that's not really helpful. What I did is I asked questions and then I dropped in some specific details about his tenants. They were dirty, they were paying late, they were doing all of these other things. But during the course of the conversation, I dropped in enough of these details to give this person the impression that I'm really listening, okay? I really care about their problem, I care about what they have to say, and to me, it's very, very important that everyone watching this video really develop that system, okay? So I want them to know that I'm not just sitting there waiting to talk. You know, oh my God, I'm so sorry, your tenants, you know, geez, are they gonna pay, what did they pay last time, on the 10th? Are they gonna do that again? How do you do that when you have to pay your mortgage? And then hush, right? So what I'm doing is I'm literally cycling back through this as I'm actively listening, I'm gathering a data point, I'm dropping a story, and then I'll come back around and listen again, right? So you're cycling them through this, right? And if you can do this a few times down to here, boom, now all of a sudden you've got the big R. You've got rapport, right? They know that you understand them. You do understand them because you've been listening and you've been gathering details and you've been repeating it back. And you take them through that cycle enough and they trust you, right? And that's all this is. Hey, listen, I'm gonna get you the most fair price that I can. I mean, I get it. You don't want to leave money on the table. I completely understand. At the same time, those tenants paying on the 10th, are they really doing you any good? I don't know. If it were me, I'd want them out of my hair, right? I understand. I know they've been there for a long time. I understand, you know, another guy in our office, he said tenants have been there 6 or 7 years. You know, it's hard to deal with that stuff. It really is. How do you do it? Okay? So again, this is a bit of a feedback loop and a bit of a science, but I want everyone to start practicing this, and it's actively listen, grab that nugget, drop it back in a conversation to really get to the point where you can quickly get to know someone, understand their problems, and figure out kind of where the conversation needs to go for you to get the deal done, okay? It's really cool stuff and it's really important, but I do want everyone to practice because it is a little awkward at first, right? Spitting details back about someone else's life, recalling specific details. Probably the most difficult part for this, Cedric, I'm looking at you, is that the more knowledgeable that you are, the more difficult it's going to be to hush, actively listen, and not just bombard somebody with knowledge. You don't want to do that, okay? It's very, very tough to get away from that, but that does not establish rapport. If you're trying to do that, you're trying to establish dominance in the conversation. We're back to the pressure thing. Any type of pressure applied, the prospect automatically wants to peace out, right? It's not going to work. So I don't want you guys messing with that, okay? Ask, deliver, re-ask. Ask, deliver, re-ask. And that's really what's going to get in here and build that initial level of rapport and trust, okay? So now that we've got the first part built, let's move into the next, right? So we've got our example here, talking to this multifamily guy. John, I'm very sorry you have late tenants. I remember a couple of key details. Usually 3 to 4 is plenty. So I remember the tenant's name, the date that they typically pay, and usually the last couple of specific complaints. Oh, they're dirty, or oh, their dog takes a shit in the yard and they never clean it up, right? But I try to remember 3 to 4 things, spit them back in the conversation. That gets us to our first level of rapport, which is trusting me enough to really dive into the property and figuring out if we can get a deal done, okay? So let's move on to that part. And again, feel free to pause this if you guys need to discuss or anything specific. Also, my email address is down here at the bottom of the screen. I'll put it up here in just a second. If you guys have specific questions, shoot me an email. I will do my best to answer them or integrate them into the next lesson, okay? So now that we've got this stuff done, sorry, this poor marker board's got some miles on it. Okay, so we've established rapport, okay? The seller likes you, you understand them, you understand their problem. Now let's move on to the technical side of this, which is the nuts and bolts, okay? Everyone's familiar with a real estate transaction, okay? We do a lot of these, we sign a lot of contracts. First thing that I want to make very clear to everyone, and I firmly believe this, in fact I'm going to change marker board colors. And I know I've talked to some of you about this, and if you've never watched any of my videos before, this might come as a bit of a shock to you, but signing a real estate contract, not closing documents, but signing a contract to purchase a home is not a big deal. Let me repeat that. The physical act of signing a contract and putting a property in escrow is not a big deal, okay? Until you go to close, until your money's in the pot, until that assignment contract's in and it's closed, it doesn't mean jack shit, okay? So, the second part of establishing rapport that I really want to talk about today is you being able, you as the acquisitions rep or the investor, or whoever it happens to be, I want you to be able to distinguish between what is a big deal and what isn't a big deal. And then I want you to be able to convey that to the seller, okay? In my book, one of the key ways to blow rapport, meaning ruin it, is to act really excited or excitable about stupid stuff, okay? Oh my God, we're gonna sign this contract and it's gonna be amazing, and then puppies and unicorns are gonna fall out of the sky. No, they're not, okay? All a real estate contract is an agreement between the two of you guys that you're gonna do a deal at a price, let's get it into escrow, let's figure it out. That's it, okay? So don't make it into any bigger of a deal than you have to, because you're gonna lose the seller, okay? It's gonna happen. Don't worry about it. Sorry, I had to check something real quick. So, is a contract a big deal? Yes or no? Hopefully you all just said no, okay? So, contract. Right? So this leads me up to this part. Whenever I'm dealing with another person who's a professional, if it's my lawyer, my accountant, the tax guy, anyone that you might deal with, the auto mechanic, a realtor, whatever else, you want to feel comfortable that you're dealing with a professional, right? That's what you need to feel comfortable saying, okay, listen, I'm here, the person I'm dealing with is an expert at something that I am not, and I trust them to take care of me during this process. Because anytime I don't have the same information they do, there's an opportunity for them to bone me over, right? And it's not what we're looking for. This would go the same as if you're selling a property. If you're a wholesaler and you're going to sell it to what we call a newbie investor, never done a project before, you've seen enough of these come across your desk where you could, if you wanted, you have the information disparity to screw this person over. I would highly encourage you not to do that, especially if you work in an office or if you deal with me twice a week. Don't do that, because I'm going to find out about it. I'm going to knock you in the head. That's a promise, okay? So, what we're working on in the second part of rapport is really, really establishing trust in our professional abilities, okay? I'm going to tie in a couple of things here. I know I fussed at everybody, but if you're any type of an investor, including one of the ones that I deal with on a weekly basis, this is probably one of the bigger reasons I want you to be very, very, very careful about getting all the information you can, specifically text and email addresses, okay? Moving back to this, contract equals NBD, no big deal. It is not a big deal to sign a contract, and I get it. You're out there, you're watching that DocuSign email, your heart's going like crazy. Sorry, that was probably kind of loud on the microphone. It's a big deal to you because that's money, that's revenue. And I get the excitement, truly I do, okay? But remember, rapport, sales, all this stuff, we're acting. This is just acting, right? We don't get paid as much as the movie stars, that's okay. They're better at acting than we are. But a contract is no big deal, okay? So when you're working through, you've got your base level of rapport, you built that. Now we're going to go through the technical nuts and bolts side, okay? So when you go out or when you talk to somebody on the phone, what's the condition of the home? How old's the AC? How old's the roof? How's the plumbing? How's the electrical, right? You want to appear as an old pro at this. Why? Because again, you're establishing yourself as an expert that's going to take away their pain. That's your job, okay? So when you establish this rapport with them, after you've established the fact that you can listen and you can drop nuggets of information back to them, they like you, they trust you, now we need to establish the fact that you know what the hell you're doing, okay? Because I might like you, you might be a cool guy, I might let you, walk my dog or whatever else, but I need to trust that you have the professional wherewithal to get done with the largest financial transaction of my life. Sorry, that's a big fucking deal, so act like it, okay? So on this one, we're gonna establish professional rapport. So how do we do this, right? So contracts, no big deal. Escrow, title, right? And all the buzzwords, earnest money, title, escrow, close of escrow, contract dates, addendums, blah, blah, blah. Here's the overall theory on this, okay? I like to keep the technical stuff. Let's use the mini skirt metaphor, right? These conversations should be like a mini skirt, okay? Should be short enough to retain somebody's interest, but long enough that it covers the subject, right? Everybody got that? So keep it short, but not too short. And remember the mini skirt thing, okay? Short enough to retain interest, long enough to cover the subject. Oh yeah, escrow, no problem. We'll get that open with Miguel. He should reach out within 2-3 days, maybe a little bit less, but he's pretty slammed right now. Does that work for you? The end. They don't need to know everything, who's gonna open it, what color the check is, don't deal with it, okay? So we're going to quickly establish the fact that we've done this before, we do it a lot, and we know what the hell we're doing, okay? So when you're mentioning escrow, again, you're going to loop them back in. If they have a specific fear, a specific concern, remember we're going to turn on the active listening ears, pick up a nugget or two, and then drop that back in the conversation. Remember that. Pick up a nugget, drop it back in the conversation later, right? This is how this is done. I don't care if you're talking about their cat or the escrow file. It's all the same thing, okay? So we're going to drop that in. What this is going to do is establish that you understand their main concerns and you have a solution for them. And if you don't have a solution for them, you're going to figure it out, okay? Same deal with everything else. Move out dates, right? Title, buzzwords, move out, right? Finances, taxes, all the technical stuff that goes into the closing of a deal, especially a distressed deal. If money's tight, if they need some moving costs, they need anything else, we're going to use the same feedback loop that we use to establish initial rapport to establish professional rapport. So we're going to get this nugget, we're going to drop it back into conversation. We're going to get another nugget, drop it back into conversation. Over and over and over and over and over and over again until you come out with PR, right? Professional rapport. All this means is that that seller, Tim, you seem like you've really got this one nailed down, buddy. That seller is 1,000% convinced that you are the pro to handle this job. Nobody else, right? Everybody else is just a window licking, mayonnaise sandwich eating moron. Don't sign anything. Don't even talk, don't even look at them, right? You are the one that they need to deal with because you're that good, okay? The reason all this works is going back to what I originally touched on, which is reciprocity, okay? You are giving them your time and your professional resources to make them feel better, okay? So by doing that, you're going to create in the seller. It's like, man, this guy or gal's been working really hard to get this deal done, and you know what? They've worked their ass off, and I need to do business with them. That's important to me, right? I'm not going to screw this person over. They've given me so much. They've helped me so much. I didn't realize this house was such a burden. God, let's get this done. What kind of paperwork do we need to do? Okay? So we're going to loop through this, right? Boom, 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 and bring out all of this stuff and establish that very, very, very solid professional rapport. Okay? And that's really the long and the short of it. Okay? That's how that loop, that feedback loop of the active listen and the mirror really applied on a granular level, okay? None of this is rocket science. I'm probably not telling you anything that you haven't heard before. But when you really drill this stuff down and apply it at a granular level, you will be amazed at how well it works, okay? So try it. I'm about done with this, but what I want you guys to do is take a little bit of time. Here's your drill, okay? I want everyone in the room to take a little bit of time, and I want you to think of a topic of conversation that is of interest to you. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be your dog. It could be maybe you play video games, maybe you play sports, maybe you like to work out, whatever it happens to be. But I want everyone to set a timer, and I want you to talk to someone at the table, and everyone else listen. So 2 people talk, conversation, everybody else listen. And I want you guys to talk about a mutually interesting topic, and each person needs to work on picking out a personal detail from the person across with them, right? So let's say that I'm talking to Robert right now. Hey Robert, I know you like to work out. I like to work out. Let's talk about some fitness. So what do you like to do, right? Do you like to bench? Do you like to run? Do you like to do Olympic lifting? You know, whatever you like to do. If Rob and I were doing this exercise, I would try to pick out very small, detailed personal nuggets about Rob's workout routine. Let's say that he's got I find out in the conversation, he's got a goal to bench his body weight 10 times, right? And he can right now, he can bench it twice. So he's got that 8 rep gap to meet. I'm going to work on, the drill is, I'm going to get that information, I'm going to store it up here, right between the ears. And then at some point within the next few lines of conversation, I'm going to drop that back out. So it might go something like, Rob, man, that's awesome. I'm glad you're working out. You know, I think next couple weeks, man, you can make up that 7 rep gap. Boom, hit your goals, right? That'd be cool. That'd be super cool if you could. I mean, 7 reps isn't that bad. You've been working on this for what, a couple months now? I give it like another 6 or 8 months, whap, you're there. Maybe less if you work hard, okay? But that's what I want everyone to do. So you guys can pause this video right now. Brian, I'll put that on you. But you can pause this right now, talk to somebody across, pick a topic, and literally practice this feedback loop, okay? So you're listening, you're grabbing a nugget of information, and then you're dropping it back in the conversation. Pick any topic you want, but everyone do that 2 or 3 times, and then I want everyone else sitting around the table to take a couple of notes and see if they can pick out the nugget that they listened for, retrieved, and then drop back in the conversation, okay? Write it down. A couple word thing might be something as simple as, you know, Rob, 7 reps. Or Tim, you know, Tim, I noticed you had tattoos. I've got some as well. Maybe we talk about tattoos, and it's a simple line about color or black and white or first tattoo or whatever it happens to be, right? Could be anything you want. Brian, golf. I don't play golf, but we could talk about golf. I can remember the names of courses. Maybe you like to hit a certain type of club, right? Maybe you have a sweet driver that you like, or what are those, a putter, whatever it happens to be. But I would practice pulling out little nuggets of that conversation and putting them back in the next time we talk. So everybody practice that, everyone write it down, and it's a really interesting mental exercise, and then I want everybody to compare notes. So that's what we've got for this Monday. Again, sorry I could not be there. You know, this video is definitely for the team. I'll probably put it up live at some point just so everyone can benefit from it. But I do want you guys to, you know, run through this, work on that drill. Cedric, don't touch your phone. And everybody work through this and really try to establish some rapport. And then if Jesse's not watching this, I want all of you to try it on him or one of the other company owners just for funsies. Really establish that rapport with the next conversation. Good deal? I appreciate you guys watching. Go get some work done, knock some deals out, and I will see you when I get back. Be good.